Perhaps the only place on Earth still full of mysteries and yet to be fully explored is the oceans. The oceans cover more than 70% of the Earth's surface. While most oceans have an average depth of 3.7 kilometers, there exists a place that plunges more than 11 kilometers deep, the Mariana Trench. Despite its freezing cold and immense pressure, this abyss is home to life forms waiting to be discovered. But do we really know what lurks at such depths? How was this trench discovered in the first place? What did the Soviet Union have to do with it? And what is the mystery behind the two strange audio recordings that came from the Mariana Trench over time? In this video, we will seek answers to these questions and embark on a journey full of mysteries into the depths of the Mariana Trench. Around 180 million years ago, while dinosaurs ruled the land during the Jurassic period, a battle began deep in the ocean. Two massive tectonic plates collided slowly but unstoppably. The Pacific plate began to slide beneath the Philippine plate. This enormous weight pulled the ocean floor downwards, and over time, the deepest scar on the planet was formed, the Mariana Trench. The trench stretches 2,550 kilometers along the ocean floor. Its deepest point is 10,984 meters below sea level. Some recent measurements even suggest it is more than 11,000 meters deep. In other words, it is as wide as continents horizontally and vertically so deep it could swallow Mount Everest. And in 1872, this place was about to be discovered. Chapter 1. The Discovery. The HMS Challenger embarked on one of the greatest scientific ocean expeditions in history. The goal was to map the ocean floor, and the ship traveled nearly 70,000 miles around the world, almost a third of the distance from the Earth to the Moon. Measurements were made at 350 different points using a long rope with an iron weight attached. Once the weight touched the seafloor, the depth could be calculated. This expedition produced the first rough maps of the ocean floor. During one such measurement, near the island of Guam in the Western Pacific, the crew dropped the line into the sea. The rope unwound, creaking on its wooden reel. Minutes passed, yet it still kept going down, faster and faster. 3,000 meters, 5,000 meters, 7,000 meters. The crew stared in disbelief. The rope still hadn't reached the bottom. At last, the reel stopped. The depth recorded was 4,475 fathoms, or 8,185 meters. Silence fell across the ship. They had never encountered such an extreme depth before. Beneath them lay an abyss that seemed endless, a hidden scar of the Earth itself. That day, the HMS Challenger crew unknowingly wrote the first page of what would become a historic discovery. Here are a few lesser-known details. The first measurement was actually incorrect. Currents and the bending of the rope weren't taken into account. And the idea of mapping the seafloor wasn't purely for science. It also had military purposes, such as identifying safe routes for laying submarine cables and optimizing naval strategies. Years later, in 1951, another expedition set sail aboard the HMS Challenger 2. This time they used sonar, a relatively new technology. Although sonar was first developed in the early 1900s, it was widely used in the 1940s to detect enemy submarines. Sonar works by sending sound waves underwater, which bounce back when they hit solid objects. This makes it possible to measure depth far more quickly and accurately than lowering a rope. Naturally, the biggest question was, how deep was the Mariana Trench really? When HMS Challenger 2 took measurements, they discovered an astonishing depth of about 10,900 meters, the deepest point in the ocean. To put it into perspective, if you placed a 102-story Empire State Building there, it would look like a mere toy. The site was named Challenger Deep in honor of the ship. People wanted to know how the trench had formed and what it looked like. Since it was the deepest point on Earth, the next goal was obvious: descend into it. Journey into the depths. Explorers now wanted to reach the bottom of Challenger Deep, but there was one huge problem: the pressure. At that depth, pressure is 1,000 times greater than normal, like having the weight of 3 Eiffel Towers pressing down on you. To illustrate this, one team conducted a demonstration. They placed a mannequin's head inside a pressure chamber. As the pressure rose, the head shrank dramatically, and that was just rubber. Imagining the same forces acting on a human was terrifying. A solution had to be found. In 1953, the eccentric Swiss inventor, Auguste Piccard, wanted to be the first man to descend into Challenger Deep. He had designed a special submarine called a bathyscaphe, built to withstand extreme pressures. Unlike regular submarines, which were designed for horizontal travel, bathyscaphes were designed for vertical dives into maximum depths. Initial test dives reached only 3,500 meters. But in 1958, the U.S. Navy purchased and modified the vessel, renaming it Trieste, and reinforced it to withstand 11,000 meters. Finally, on January 23, 1960, the descent began. Not by Auguste Piccard himself, but by his son Jacques Piccard and U.S. Navy officer Don Walsh. Auguste was too old to attempt it himself. The two men spent 9 hours in a cramped cabin, descending at about 3 miles per hour. By 3,000 feet, they were in complete darkness. Then came a miracle. They saw bioluminescent creatures glowing in the blackness, as if they had entered a fantastical world. After about 5 hours, they reached the bottom, 36,000 feet deep. Almost no human would ever experience this in person. Looking through the portholes, they saw soft, muddy sediments and only a few living creatures. One stood out, a flat, whitish fish about 30 centimeters long. Scientists had thought bony fish couldn't survive such pressures, but perhaps they were wrong. Jacques Piccard later wrote in his book, "The question biologists had asked for decades, could life exist at the ocean's deepest point, was suddenly answered before our eyes." Yes, life was there because of stirred-up sediments. Their cameras recorded blurry footage, and they had to ascend. But they had achieved the impossible, reaching the deepest part of Earth's oceans. Unsurprisingly, the U.S. quickly used this as propaganda. Just as the Soviets had been first in space in 1957, the U.S. could now claim to be first at the ocean's deepest point in 1960. This part of the ocean, deeper than 6,000 meters, had long been called the Hadal Zone, named after Hades, the god of the underworld who ruled over the realm of the dead. Cold, dark, and seemingly inescapable, it was like an underwater reflection of the land of the dead. The mysterious sounds. And perhaps this is why the strange audio recordings from the Mariana Trench made some wonder whether something else might live there. In 1997, NOAA recorded a strange sound, unlike any known whale, wave, or earthquake. It was so powerful it could be detected over 3,000 kilometers away. Some speculated it was a massive unknown sea creature. Others suggested a geological event on the seafloor. No definitive explanation has ever been found. In late 2014, another strange sound was recorded west of the Mariana Trench. Hydrophones first picked up a low rumble, followed by a rising, high-pitched tone. For months, scientists struggled to explain it. Finally, they concluded it was likely the unusual call of a minke whale, Balaenoptera acutorostrata. But still, questions remained. Why was this sound only heard in certain seasons, and only around the Mariana Trench? Even today, the true source of these mysterious sounds and the secrets of the Hadal depths remain unknown. Perhaps one day technology will reveal what lies beyond the darkness. Until then, the Mariana Trench will continue to be one of Earth's greatest mysteries.